Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us in this important workshop titled Post Your Mind, How to Remember More, Focus Better, and Think Sharper, hosted by Counseling Unit and the Office of Development and Alumni Affairs at Ajman University. I'm Dr. Dalia Bidewi, Manager of Counseling Unit at Ajman University, and I shall be your presenter for today's workshop. Before we go further, I just want to review the functionality of the workshop. Your active participation is important throughout the session. Right now, I have everyone in mute just to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the presentation. Throughout the session, someone on the staff will be managing the Q&A functionality. You can enter your question in the Q&A box throughout the presentation. And throughout the presentation, Dr. Obasna, our guest for today's workshop, would be asking for your collaboration, asking you to do some stuff. So you are we're very welcome to write whatever you want in the chat box. Now I would like to introduce our distinguished guest speaker for today's workshop, Dr. Obasna Gala. Dr. Obasna Gala has founded Evolve Brain Training. She has always been fascinated with the power of human brain, leading her to earn a PhD in neuroscience from Baylor College of Medicine, Houston. Having spent over a decade studying and researching the nervous system, she has now decided to bring her love for the brain into her profession and wants to share her secrets for maximizing the brain's potential so that everyone can live the life she or he had always imagined. Dr. Obasna, welcome to Ajman University, and thank you for accepting to present such an important topic today. And I shall mute my mic as well, so we could all listen to you to understand if it's really possible and applicable to boost our minds so that anyone striving to achieve optimal mental performance and emotional wellness can actually do that. Dr. Obasna, we are all ears.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Ajman University for inviting me, and thank you for that very nice introduction. So, hi everybody. As she mentioned, please feel free to use the chat box as much as you can. And also for this presentation, at some point you will need 2 pens or pencils and something to write on. So if you can just go grab something around you, and we can start. So, I have my center, Evolve Brain Training, where we do neurofeedback therapy. And this, I will go a little bit into detail about how this therapy works. But during lockdown, obviously my center was closed, so clients couldn't come in. So they would keep asking me, what can we do at home to make sure that our brain remains sharp, that we can, work on our focus, all these kind of things. So that is why I designed the series of Boost Your Brain workshops, where we go through lots of different exercises that we do together right now, and then you can do them at home to continue to improve your brain power. So I'm going to just share I'm going to keep going on and off between the presentation and me, because I don't want you guys to just be looking at the presentation. I want you to look at me, but every once in a while, I will open it up. So okay. So at my center with Evolve Brain Training, we help people with lots of different conditions. We help them help people with ADHD to improve their focus, help people with sleep problems, people with anxiety, depression, or any kind of learning disabilities, or anything holding them back from peak performance. So we help you improve your motivation, improve your, work on your procrastination, improve your creativity, all of these things. And the way we do this is using a technology called neurofeedback. Now, neurofeedback means feedback for the brain. So an analogy I often use is, imagine you're walking in front of a mirror and your hair is messed up. Now, when you look in the mirror, you get that information about your hair being messed up, so you fix it, right? So that is exactly what we do with your brain. We show the brain its own activity in real time. And when the brain sees what it's doing wrong, it can essentially self-correct and self-regulate. Because our brains and our bodies, we have a self-correcting mechanism, but only if they know what they're doing wrong. So that's where we come into the picture. Now, the way we show the brain what it's doing is using EEG sensors that we attach to the head. These sensors are listening and monitoring your brain activity. So you know how we have the ECG that listens to the heart? Just like that, these EEG sensors are listening to your brain. Then this information about your brain activity is translated by my software onto a video output. So during a session, you're sitting in a chair, watching something on Netflix while the sensors are attached to you, and the screen you're watching will change in size, it will change in clarity, sound will change in volume, all based on your brain waves. So say, for example, you come to me because you want to improve your focus. Now, every time you are focused, the sensors will sense that, and immediately the screen will become full screen, it will be clear, and the sound will be good. But if you get distracted, bored, think other thoughts, then the screen will become small and the sound will become muffled. Now, the big screen and good sound, they are a positive reward for the brain. Brain likes it. So brain will try to do more and more of the activity that gives it that positive reward. So it will try to be more and more focused or more and more calm or whatever it is we're training your brain to do. And then eventually, when you do this kind of training many, many times, because of the power of neuroplasticity, which I will go into detail a little later, this new habit of becoming focused or being calm becomes your brain's natural new habit. So even when you're not in my office doing this exercise, you're at home, at school, your brain will remember these tools and techniques. That's how we make long-term changes. Before we go any further into this talk, I want you guys to do a little thought experiment with me. So everybody just close your eyes and imagine there is a lemon in front of you. Imagine the round shape of the lemon, the yellow color of it. Imagine picking it up in your hand, feeling its texture, the little bumps, the roughness or smoothness of it. You can even bring it close to your nose and smell that citrusy smell. Now imagine taking a knife and cutting it in half and pick up one half of it, bring it close to your mouth, squeeze it and feel the juices running down your fingers and going into your mouth, and taste the tartness, the sourness. And you can now open your eyes. So what did everybody experience? Maybe Dr. Dahlia, you can tell us what you saw, while other people, if they're commenting, you can read out their comments.
Right. Well, actually, I felt like I could smell and I could taste the lemon, and I enjoyed it because I'm a lemon addicted. I just lemon everything. So I just felt like I smelled that, and I could taste the really very good sour.
Maybe your mouth started salivating, or some people can even remember some memories of a lemon pie that their grandma makes, or things, right? People really experience this, even though there is no lemon in front of you. You can touch it, feel it, taste it, even have memories of it. So I just do this little example in the beginning just to remind everybody how incredible of an organ our brain is. That without having anything in front of it, you are able to activate all these different senses in your brain. And your brain really is incredible because it's made up of billions of neurons that make trillions of connections with each other. So if you think of all of the stars in our galaxy, your brain has more connections than all these stars combined. And it's these connections that are responsible for everything you think, feel, and do. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And for the longest time, it was thought that these billions of neurons that we are born with are the only neurons we have for the rest of our lives. But we know now from recent research that this is actually not true. We continue to create new neurons as adults, especially in a very important part of the brain called the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is the part of the brain that's responsible for learning and memory. So if you have ever learned anything new as an adult, a new language, a new hobby, anything, it's because of these new neurons in your hippocampus. And in the hippocampus, you actually make 700 new neurons every day. It might not sound like a big number compared to the billions of neurons that we already have, but by the time you turn 50, all of the original neurons that you were born with in the hippocampus will be replaced with these new adult-born neurons. So these new neurons are actually extremely important for your continued learning and memory, especially certain kinds of memory like spatial memory. So the way you navigate your way around the city, it's because of these new adult-born neurons. And also it allows to not only have a better, not only to have more quantity of memories, but it also helps you to have better quality of memory, which means your memories will last for longer. You will add days, months, or even years to your memory. So these neurons are very, very important for many different reasons. Now, knowing that these adult-born neurons called adult neurogenesis are so important, it would be interesting to know if we can control our own adult neurogenesis or not. Can we do something to create more adult neurons? And luckily for us, the answer is yes. So I'm going to give you guys a little pop quiz now, and I'm going to give you some activities, and you tell me in the chat box if you think that this activity will increase neurogenesis or decrease neurogenesis. So let me share my screen again. What about reading? Dr. Dahlia, maybe you can read out some of the answers or give me your own answers. You're on mute.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So we have here someone has said, let me get the chat. It was said increase. A lot of people have said it will increase.
Absolutely. Learning, reading, do anything new definitely increases neurogenesis. So creates new neurons in your brain. What about stress?
Okay, so it said decrease.
Yes, that's right.
It says decrease.
Absolutely, stress will decrease neurogenesis. So it will stop your brain from creating new neurons. So you need to be mindful of the amount of stress in your life and learn how to manage it, because stress is very highly correlated with learning and memory. What about sleep deprivation if you don't get enough sleep?
Again, decrease.
Absolutely, that will decrease. Sleep actually does a lot of important things. Not only is it important for new neurons, so it helps your learning and memory, but it also protects your brain from future neurodegenerative diseases. Because when you are in deep sleep, that's when the brain activates its sewage system, which means all the toxic proteins that are produced throughout the day in the deep sleep, that's when the brain gets rid of it. But if you don't get enough deep sleep, then the brain keeps accumulating these toxic proteins. And over time, these toxic proteins can cause problems like Alzheimer's or dementia even. So having good quality sleep is extremely important for your future brain health and for your current brain health to improve your learning and memory. What about swimming?
Okay, let's see about that. What about swimming? Increase.
Yes, it does very much increase. Not only is it a physical activity, but you're activating many different, you have to be very coordinated. So you're activating a lot of different things in your brain at the same time, allowing your brain to improve connections between the different hemispheres. What about aging?
Aging. Okay. Decrease.
Yes. So as you get older, neurogenesis does decrease, but it does not stop. So if you continue to do all these other activities that do increase neurogenesis, rather than not do anything, you will be still in a better position than somebody who is aging, or even somebody who's not aging, who is not doing any of these activities. So just because you get older doesn't mean that your memory has to decrease or your learning has to decrease. It is still in your hands to increase your neurogenesis by doing all these other activities that do increase production of new neurons. And lastly, what about running?
Okay, running. Increase.
Yes, it does increase. In fact, not only, so physical exercise, especially something like running that increases your heart rate, not only does it increase new neurons, but it actually increases the production of three very important neurotransmitters in your brain: dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. What does dopamine do? It's our motivation molecule. So if you ever wanted to win a prize or finish a puzzle, it's because dopamine that is motivating you to go do that action. So if you don't have enough dopamine, so in rats, when they remove the dopamine producing neurons, these rats were so demotivated that they would rather starve to death than eat the food that is right in their cage. So they didn't even have enough motivation to go eat the food that was right next to them. So dopamine is extremely important for motivation and success. Serotonin is the happy molecule. It's the same molecule that is present in almost all the antidepressants available today. And exercise gives a natural boost to this neurotransmitter in your brain. And norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter that allows you to focus on the task at hand without getting distracted. And exercise is this magic pill that gives an immediate and significant boost to all these three neurotransmitters together, making you more motivated, happier, as well as making you more focused. So if there is some project or some homework that you've been putting off because you're not feeling up to it, try to go for like a 20-minute run right before doing that, and then try to sit and see how much more motivated and happier you are and focused you are while finishing it. So let's move on. So it's not only about the number of neurons. You know, it's great to create new neurons. It's amazing, and you now know a lot of tricks that you can do to increase new neurons. But it's also important about the connections that they make. And the whole idea of making new connections is the process of neuroplasticity. But before I tell you anything more about it, I want you guys to now stand up and do another experiment with me. But I need everybody to stand up wherever you are.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
Just have to fix this a little bit. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to raise our right arm, just like this. And I want you to turn as far back as you can go. And just make a note of how far back you can go. Just see what you can see, where your hand is pointing to. And just make a note of it. And come back. Okay, now we are going to close our eyes. And we're not actually going to raise our arm, but we are just going to imagine doing it. So imagine you raised your arm just like you did. And then imagine turning back just like you did before. Now imagine turning twice as far back. So you're getting a really good stretch. You're able to see way far beyond what you just saw and feeling like a really good twist in your back and your chest and your shoulder. Now imagine you are turning back 3 times as far back. So your body is made of rubber and you're like turning around and around. And now imagine you're turning back 4 times as far back as you did. So you're going round and even making another round. Your body is completely jello and you're all twisted up. And now imagine untwisting and uncurling yourself, coming back to your normal standing position. Now we're going to open our eyes and raise this arm again in real life. So now we raise it. And now turn back as far back as you can go. How many of you were able to go further this time?
I would say me, and I think we have we have, and I can, so a lot of us have imagined that.
So some of you would have been able to go 50% further, some of you maybe 25% further, but almost everybody can go further than they did the first time. Now let me ask you something. Do you think you were physically not capable of going that far the first time? Of course not, right? If you were able to do the second time, you must have been able to do it the first time. So what was it that was blocking? It was your brain that made you believe that you couldn't go that far. And when you did this thought experiment, you created a new pathway in your brain that allowed your brain to believe that it can go further, and it was able to go further. Because for our brain, imagining doing something or really doing something is actually the same thing. So if you put somebody under a scan and you look at their MRI scan while they're thinking of playing tennis, or the MRI scan of somebody who's actually playing tennis, their brain will have the same pathways lit up. In fact, they did an experiment where there was two group of athletes, basketball players, one of whom were actually practicing playing, and the other group was mentally practicing their play tactics and all of this kind of stuff. And then they tested them, and there was no difference in their performance. So the people that were imagining the whole thing versus the people that were actually doing it were able to perform just as well. So it's extremely important. The story you tell your brain is very important for how things manifest in your life. So if you have a presentation to make and you keep thinking, oh my God, I'm going to mess it up, everyone's going to laugh at me, I'm not going to be confident, your brain is going to believe that and you're not going to be able to do well. And you are going to mess it up. But on the other hand, if you imagine that it's going to go great, of course you need to practice, but if you also go in with a mindset where you imagine that you're going to do great, people are going to love you, your brain will believe it and you're much more likely to have a good talk or a good presentation. So don't underestimate the power of what you tell your brain. And all of this entire process is because of something called neuroplasticity, that your brain is able to make these changes. So if you think of your brain as a dynamic power grid of, it's made up of billions of pathways that light up every time you think something, feel something, or do something. And some of these pathways, let me share my presentation for this part. So some of these pathways, they are well traveled. So these are your habits, your established ways of thinking things, doing things. And every time you practice a certain task or think the same emotion, this pathway keeps getting stronger and stronger. Now, say you think of something differently one day or try to learn a new task, then your brain starts carving out a new road. And the more you practice this new task or the more you think in this new way, this new pathway will keep getting stronger and stronger until it becomes second nature for your brain. And then the old pathway will keep getting weaker and weaker. And this process of rewiring your brain by creating new pathways, strengthening new pathways, and weakening old ones is called neuroplasticity. And the good thing is that we all have the ability to experience neuroplasticity. If you have ever changed a bad habit or learned a new habit, it's because you have undergone neuroplasticity. You have changed your brain's wiring and created a new wiring that is beneficial to you. So let's do a couple of exercises right now that use the principle of neuroplasticity to help strengthen our brain power. Okay, for this one, all I need is your hands. So let's make a thumbs up sign with one hand and a pinky out with the other. Okay, now we're gonna put the thumb up with the other hand and pinky out with the first. Okay, now we're gonna switch both together, thumb and pinky, and switch, and switch. Let's do it 5 more times, and switch. It is hard, guys. You have to focus, and switch. If you get better, you can get faster. Switch, and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how hard did you find it? 5 being the hardest and 1 being the easiest.
Okay, let's find out. So each have given 5, 5, 4, 4, 5. Okay, 1 because I
good, because the person, exactly, that's what I was going to say. So the more you practice this task, the better you will get at it because of the process of neuroplasticity. But why do you want to do this task? So the right hemisphere of your brain controls your left hand, and the left hemisphere of your brain controls your right hand. And generally, our hands are used to mirroring each other's actions. But if you give each hand a different task to do, it makes it complicated for the brain, so it makes it harder, but it allows your brain to strengthen the connection between the two hemispheres. So it strengthens the connection between the left and right hemisphere, and a brain that is better connected is better protected from future neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or dementia. And these exercises, the point is not to get good at this exercise. So if you get good at this, that's great, but that means you have to switch it up. Make it, then add a different combination of hand exercises. The idea is to constantly stimulate and challenge the brain and keep doing things that your brain is not used to, so you can form new connections and have a stronger brain and a sharper brain. So let's do another one. For this one, I need you guys to have your 2 pens and something to write on. I will do it along with you guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to write the alphabet from A to Z. Okay, very easy. But we're going to write it with both hands together. But each hand is going to write a different letter. So while left hand is writing A, right hand is writing B at the same time. And then C and D, and then E and F, all the way to Y and Z. Okay, let's do it. Okay. That's what mine looks like. Obviously, it's not perfect, and especially my non-dominant hand is not so great, my left hand, but it doesn't matter. We are just, again, giving your brain a little challenging exercise to do. So what is this exercise doing? So first of all, of course, each hand is doing a different thing. So that is already, connecting, making better connections between your 2 hemispheres. But this exercise also has a lot of other components. So for example, your non-dominant hand is doing an activity that it's never done. So if you're right-handed, your left hand is your non-dominant hand. If you are left-handed, right hand is your non-dominant hand. And during this exercise, you are writing with your non-dominant hand, which it's probably never used to. So if you remember the first time you started writing with your dominant hand, there was a huge expansion of neural pathways in that part of the connected hemisphere. So in the left hemisphere, if you're right-handed, lots of activity was going on in the left hemisphere while you were learning how to write. And the same thing is happening right now when you use a non-dominant hand to do something it hasn't done before. In the corresponding hemisphere, there's a giant expansion of new pathways, new connections, where there were never any connections before. So doing this kind of exercise allows you to create new connections in your brain, making you sharper. And it doesn't have to be just writing. So you can use your non-dominant hand for a lot of different things. You can use it to brush your teeth. You can use it to comb your hair. You can use it to lift objects, open doors, anything that your hand is not used to. The more you challenge your brain, the more you stimulate your brain, the more connections your brain makes. And the best advice I can give you to improve your neuroplasticity, to make sure that you be sharp, is to constantly be learning. Whether it's a new hobby, a new language, a new sport, anything that you do is going to help your brain be sharp. Even as your body gets older, your brain will not if you keep supporting it in these ways. So let's move on to the next section. I think a lot of people come to me with the problem of focus, that they're not able to pay attention because devices and all this kind of stuff, especially with online learning, it's so difficult to focus and pay attention, right? So who over here wants to focus? Lift your hand. Shake it out. Shake your hand out. Whoever wants to improve their focus, shake your hand out and put your hand on your chin. Where's your chin, everybody? That's not your chin. Chin is here. So it's just a little example of how we are never in the moment and how focus and attention has many different roles. You could be looking at somebody, but still, or listening to somebody, but still not hearing them. So let's do a quick test of how good your focus is, okay? I'm going to show you guys a video and you need to count how many times the people wearing the white shirt are passing the basketball, okay? You need to count the number of times they're passing the ball, the people wearing the white shirt.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count?
So how many passes did everybody count?
So we got 15, 17, 11, 10, 12, 15 again.
Okay. So
12.
how many did you count, Dr. Dahlia?
Well, actually it was 13.
Oh, okay. So the correct answer is 15 passes. So everybody who got 15, you did a great job. But did you guys all see the gorilla?
I did.
You did. How many people saw the gorilla?
Let's find out. So yes, I did. That's 2 of them. Yep, that's 3. And someone is shocked. She said, really? There was no gorilla. Yes, and again, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So some did and some didn't actually.
Okay. So for those that didn't,
15
let's just look
passes.
at it.
But did you see the gorilla?
All right. So people are always surprised. Like the ones that did not see the gorilla, they just cannot believe that there was a gorilla. And the ones that saw it cannot believe that people didn't see it. So this phenomenon is called selective attention. When you're trying to focus on one task, because the task was to count the number of passes, right? When you're trying to focus on one task, you cannot pay attention to other things. So those of you that were able to correctly guess the number of passes but did not see the gorilla, it means you guys are really good at focusing on a task and getting accurate results. For those of you who got the correct number of passes and saw the gorilla, you guys are really good at keeping attention as well as shifting attention without losing accuracy. For those of you who did not see the gorilla and did not get the right number of passes, you really have to work on your focus. So we're going to do a couple of exercises that help you improve your focus. So just a little bit about the selective attention thing. This phenomenon happens every day in our regular life. So if you go to a party and, there's lots of people talking, there's music, there is entertainment, all this kind of stuff. But if someone says your name, you immediately pick it up and look in their spot, even though you cannot really, there's so many other noises, your brain is able to pick it out. That's because of selective attention. And it's the same reason if you're in a group of people, when you're having a conversation with somebody across the table and there's other people talking around you, near you, you're still able to maintain the conversation with that person without getting confused by what other people are saying. So that is because of your brain's ability to have selective attention, which is a good thing. But sometimes, because of the kind of world we live in, we generally have to do a lot of things at the same time. It is also important to have the ability to shift attention without losing accuracy. So let's do a couple of exercises that help us work on our focus. Okay? So I'm going to show you guys a video, and in your own home, wherever you are, there's going to be some words that pop on the screen. I want you guys to shout out the color of the word and not read the text, but just say the color. Okay?
Red. Yellow. Blue. Red. Red. Purple. Brown. Blue. Red.
Okay, a little faster. And that's it. How was it, guys?
I think I was good, but let's see the rest.
Easy.
Easy.
Okay.
Wow.
Even in the final stage, that's very good. Good. So if you guys are easy at this, then we need to increase the speed and make it faster and then still be good at it. So what your brain is doing in this exercise is, the reason it is hard for some people is because the part of your brain that's responsible for color perception is different from the part of your brain that's responsible for text perception. So this exercise allows better connection between these two parts, but it also allows your brain, to practice shifting attention and paying attention, because you have to shift your attention from the distracting information of the text and focus on the necessary relevant information of the color. So the more you practice this, the better your brain gets at focusing attention on the task at hand and without letting outside external information confuse you. So there's another exercise we can do that helps you with similar things. It helps you improve your information processing and helps you focus on the task at hand. So I'll just explain the exercise before I show it to you. There's this 5 by 5 square with the numbers 1 through 25 written on it. I will point out the number 1 to you, and your goal is to find numbers 2 to 25 in the right order as fast as you can. You will have 10 seconds. Okay, everybody can see it? So this is number 1 right here. And you have 10 seconds to find 2 through 25. Go. And that's it. How many numbers was everyone able to find?
14.
That's very nice.
Okay. 13, couldn't find number 12.
11, okay. So if you could, okay, 10, 11, 13. So if you could find, was anybody who could find more than 20? Okay, so if you could find between 10 to 18, that's a pretty good number. That's average. If there's anybody who was able to find more than 18 or more than 20, that means your information processing speed is really fast. So you're really good at like picking up information and getting the right, extracting the right things from it. If you found less than 8, then this is an area that you really need to work on. You need to improve your processing speed and doing more Schulte. So this table is called the Schulte table. So I'll just write it down in the thing so you guys can practice. So it's called a Schulte table, and you can find it online or you can make your own like I did. And the more you practice this kind of tables, the better your brain will get at processing information, and it will get better. Your peripheral vision will get better, and you will even increase your reading speed. So if you have to read a lot for school or even for pleasure and you're not being able to get through those books, the more Schulte tables you practice, the better and faster you will get at reading. And it allows you to focus on the task at hand without getting distracted by irrelevant information, because there's a lot of stuff going on in this square with different colors and different numbers, and your task is to find the right thing among all of these things. So these are 2 really good exercises you can do to improve your focus and attention, as well as to shift attention. But the best advice I can give you to improve your focus and attention is something that I'm sure you guys have all heard of already, but because it is so important, I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about it. So the other day I was, sitting on the couch, answering some emails, at the same time watching something on Netflix, and then my friend was messaging me on my phone on WhatsApp, and I realized, what am I doing? How many screens is enough screen? Like today's day and age, we are all so obsessed with it. Who over here, the first thing that we do when we wake up in the morning is look at our phone, or the last thing we do is look at our phone. So this is really because we cannot even wait in line for coffee without looking at our phone, or wait for a friend to meet us for dinner without looking at our phone. We are so addicted to this device. And it's, we have, essentially forgotten how to be bored, because we cannot handle even 1 minute of boredom. We will just like go on Instagram or do something to just fill up those gaps of boredom. It sounds really silly, but being bored is actually really important for your brain. Because when your brain is bored, that's when your brain has time to wander. And when your brain wanders, that's when it has the time to make connections between all the things it may have seen so far in your life. Sometimes when you think like an idea just came to you, that idea did not just come to you. That idea was forming in your brain for days, weeks, months, or sometimes even years. And when you have that moment of calm, when you're not constantly bombarding your brain with information, that's when the brain can come up with creative magical ideas. And if you steal and rob your brain of this amazing time of boredom, your brain will never get to do these magical things. And that's why sometimes the best ideas that we get are in the shower or when we're driving, because your brain is not occupied with something. You're not constantly like filling your brain up with something. And that's why the brain can come up with creative things. And of course, it will help you improve your focus as well. Because if you don't stimulate your brain constantly, right now your brain has gotten used to this high level of stimulation. It constantly needs something. If something is not this stimulating, you're just not interested in it. But once you move your brain to a lower level of stimulation, you will see that your focus improves tremendously. You will be able to, the reason when we're talking to somebody and we zone out is because what they're saying is not stimulating enough for us, and we start zoning out and start thinking about things in our own brain. But if you bring your brain down to a lower level of stimulation, obviously your focus will improve because that stimulation is enough and you're able to be alert, whether it's in your class, paying attention to your teacher, or even in a conversation with friends. So don't underestimate the power of boredom. Yeah, practice boredom. Next time you're waiting at a red light, just wait at a red light. You're waiting for your coffee, just wait for coffee. Don't look at your phone. And I mentioned a little bit about how this helps with creativity. How much time? We have 15 minutes. We can do a quick exercise that helps improve our creativity. Yeah? So this one, I need all of you to communicate with me. It's a collaborative exercise. So I'm going to show you guys this pen. I want everybody to come up with different uses for this pen. What can we do with this pen apart from writing? Yeah, I can start, you guys. I can use it to tie my hair into a bun. Let's hear everybody's ideas.
Okay.
Use it as a ruler, yeah. Stress relief, how's that? By chewing on it? Clicking it, okay. Give it as a gift, nice. Scratch as a pointer, yeah. What else? This is a young group of people. I want lots of amazing answers. As a bottle opener, nice. How about I can use it as a drumstick, right? I can use it to mix something as a stirrer. Yeah, what else? Come on, guys. Activate your right brain creative parts. You can use it as a bookmark. You can open it up and use the ink to make, I don't know, like a painting. That's it. I was expecting more from you people. Okay. For truth or dare game, nice. Yeah, you can spin it. Very cool. Paper punch. Yeah, you can make holes with it. Very good. So this is called the alternative uses exercise. And you can do this with anything, not just with a pen, do it with a mug, do it with a fly swatter, and you can do it as a whole family or, include as many people in it as you can. So what happens is, if you know who's the best at this game, it's kids. Because for them, there's no such thing as a functional fixedness. So functional fixedness is this idea that one thing can only be used for one thing. And as we get older, these kind of things become more and more stronger in our beliefs that a thing can only be one thing. And we end up believing that not only about things, but also about ourselves. That's why we start limiting ourselves. Like, oh no, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do that. But you need to learn something from children, especially regarding this exercise. You know, when you give them a Christmas present, they are so much more excited about the box than the actual present. Why is that? It's because the present is just the present, but the box can be anything. The box can be a fort, it can be a porthole into another universe, and they can make it their own amazing stories and ideas. And there's a lot to learn from children with regards to how creative they are and how they don't limit themselves, and they don't have the fears or the shame or the guilt that stop them from growing and being imaginative and open. So I am going to leave you guys with my 3 takeaways. Sorry. Is never stop learning, practice boredom, and be playful like children. And I'm open for any questions, and you can find me on Instagram at Evolve Brain Training, or LinkedIn, or go to our website, DM me, email me, however you would like to meet, and let's hear your questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Opasna. Dr. Opasna, I really enjoyed this. So could I go first with a question?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I understand, Dr. Opasna, that brain training is more like a program of regular activities aims to maintain or improve one's cognitive abilities. And cognitive ability usually refers to component of fluid intelligence, such as executive function and working memory.
Yeah.
Well, I have noticed, I'm not sure if you have you noticed that as well or not, but some people use the two terms, brain program or brain training and brain games, as if they refer to the same thing. Do you think they refer to the same thing? Can you clarify this? What is the difference between brain training and games?
Yeah, so there are some, so for example, you know, if you do crossword puzzles, it is going to train your brain in a way, and it is a brain game, and that allows you to improve your cognitive abilities in many different ways. Same with Sudoku or something like that. But if you're talking about the brain games, like, you know, like Lumosity or these other apps where you do these games, those games, they make you good at playing those games. So they will improve your score every time you play it. But research has not shown that it translates into real life. But certain kinds of things that you do, like, you know, crossword puzzles or Sudokus or learning a new instrument or these kind of things, if you do regularly, they actually have more long-term implications in your brain being sharper and faster and all these kind of things. So if there's like a program that is specifically designed for your needs and you're doing it regularly, you will get more out of it in real life benefits rather than playing the games on the app. And the other problem with the games on the app is that it's an app, and again, you are now addicted to the screen and you're spending more time on it. And I just talked to you about how harmful that is, and it's actually taking away from your brain's abilities and creativity.
True. All right, thank you so much. Well, I think we can move to the student questions. Allow me to read them out to you. So we have a question that says, Doctor, are there any side effects of neurofeedback?
So neurofeedback is exercise for your brain. So, you know, when you do physical exercise, sometimes you may get tired. Similarly, if you do the neurofeedback, the side effects are very minimal, but they may be something like you getting tired, or maybe you get a headache, but these effects don't last. They only last for a couple of hours, and nothing is irreversible. So if you experience something that you don't like, and you come back to us, next time we change something, and you don't no longer experience that. Because the positive effects are only long lasting because we're repeating the same thing over and over again. And so we are making neuroplasticity happen in your brain and causing those changes. But if we do something that you don't like and we immediately change it, it will not yet become a habit for your brain. So it will not be a long lasting negative side effect.
True. Another question that seems really interested in neurofeedback, and it says, can I do neurofeedback if I am undergoing other therapies?
Yes, absolutely. We have lots of clients that come in, you know, that they're going to a psychologist, or they're undergoing talk therapy, or even undergoing medications. So talk therapy actually goes very well in complementation with neurofeedback. In fact, it speeds up your process, because talk therapy can sometimes take years, 5 years, 10 years. Some people never stop going to a psychologist. So when you combine neurofeedback with that, it speeds up the whole process. And because you've already done a lot of the work on your own, so then you don't need that many sessions. You'll be able to come to those conclusions on your own without the help of your counselor always leading you to those things. So there's that. And then with regards to medications, we actually have clients that when they started with me, they were on medications. And by the time they finish the program, some of them are on half dosage. Some of them have completely given up their medications. So the goal for me and for my clients is always to be off the medications, because the medications are not a long-term solution. They're more like glasses. Because if you wear glasses and you can't see, you wear glasses, then you can see. But if you take off your glasses, you can't see again, because the glasses are not fixing your eyesight. They're only making it easy for you to read while you're wearing them. And same thing with medications. As soon as you take them off, you take the person off a medication, their brain goes back to their original basal level, whatever it was. And plus there's other side effects of medications that you have to deal with. So my goal, unless you absolutely need it, yes, you must take medication. But if you tried everything else first and you still need it, only then I would recommend medication.
Right. Thank you so much for stressing about this, because, I have heard this frequently. Is it just medication that I can go on with? Is it just cognitive? Is it just neurofeedback? Yeah. So do they interact with each other positively or negatively? So thank you for clarifying.
As many things you can do for your brain is, like when you're trying to be healthy, it's not whether you either go to the gym or you eat well. You do everything possible to stay fit and stay healthy, right? Just like that for the brain. If you can do brain training as well as neurofeedback, as well as yoga, meditation, anything that you do that can help your brain, learning new things, staying on top of, or cognitive abilities, all of these kind of things. It's not that they interfere with each other. They all help each other. The only issue a little bit is with the medications, because they cause side effects.
True. So another interesting question, doctor. Is it long lasting, or is just with long, for the session? Is it really long lasting?
Yeah, so that's why we do a minimum of 20 sessions to see long lasting results. Because for any new, to make anything into a long-term habit for your brain, whether it's like even something like a yoga or any new thing that you want to incorporate into your life, if you want to make it a long-term habit, your brain needs to repeat it at least 21 times. So that's why we recommend a 20 session program. But 20 is the minimum that we require everybody to do. But depending on the severity of your condition, how long you had it for, some people may need more. But once you do the right number of sessions, which for you is right, those effects remain with you pretty much for a lifetime. Unless something traumatic happens in your life, you lose your job, lose a loved one, something like that, then you can come back for 1 or 2 maintenance or booster sessions. But other than that, the effects are pretty much very long lasting.
Right. Well, there is an interesting comment. It said, first, I'm thanking you all for the great lecture. I will send the questions later. So, doctor, is it possible for our students to email you their questions so they could get back to them?
I will put my email in here.
Thank you so much. So, guys, I think doctor will be welcome to receive your questions that she would share.
You can also all follow us on Instagram. It's Evolve Brain Training. And you can also, if you DM them, it will get to me as well. So Evolve Brain Training, that's the Instagram.
Good. So now we'll have your all contact information for them. So anyone you would like to ask questions for Dr. Basna, you can do that. So another question said, what you said about us dealing with boredom is so true. I can relate so much, as we always have something on our hands. So my question is, how can we avoid that? How can we learn to switch off? That's the question for $1 million.
Yeah. So one of the things I do is, that I recommend all my clients, and I myself started doing it and started noticing a huge change, is for the first 30 minutes or first 20 to 30 minutes in the morning when I wake up, to not be near my phone. So in order to do that, in the previous night, I have to put my phone on the other side of the bed or outside the room or anywhere where I'm not tempted to look at it the first thing when I wake up in the morning. Because when you wake up in the morning, your brain goes through these different brain activities. So when you're asleep, your brain is in delta state. And then just as you start to kind of come out of the sleep state, the brain goes into theta state. And then when you are a little bit more awake, your brain is in alpha state, which is like the meditative state. And then as you start doing your daily activities, you go into beta state, which is your fully alert and awake conscious state. But when we wake up and immediately look at our phone, your brain is being forced to jump from delta to beta. And you miss out this very interesting alpha theta state where really, really cool stuff happens in your brain. It sets a good tone for the rest of your day. It's a really happy meditative state. And you completely lose that if you straight away go to your phone. So give yourself the first 20 to 30 minutes in the morning where your phone is not near you. So you're not tempted to do that at all. And the other thing I do is I put all of my time-sucking apps like Instagram, Facebook, all of that inside a folder, and I put that folder on page 3 of my phone. So it's not right there on my home screen. So if anytime I have just 2 minutes of free time, I'm not immediately tempted to go because it's not there on my home screen. So I have to go and open the folder and do it. So just adding a little bit of friction so that when you have these little pockets of time where you could just be giving your brain a break, you are able to do that.
True. So another question is about a memory. So it said, how to enhance memory to multitasking activities? Is it only by practice?
Only by what?
Practice.
Practice, yes. So all these things, focus, memory, you know, when people say, I don't have a good memory or I don't have focus, focus and memory are not nouns that you have or don't have. They are verbs that you do. You remember, you focus. And like any other activity or task, the more you practice it, the better you will get at remembering, the better you will get at focusing. And of course, there are certain memory tricks, and I do a memory workshop where I talk about some of these, you know, tricks on how to memorize things better. Or you can, you know, email me or come to my office and we can talk a little bit because it's a very detailed explanation. But yes, practicing, practice, practice, practice. Any task you practice, the better you will get at it because of neuroplasticity.
True. Well, I'm afraid we're running out of time, so I can't take all the questions, but here's one last question, doctor. It said, I cannot focus under stress. So how can I increase my focus?
So I would really recommend you to do these, you know, like short 5 or 10-minute meditation or breathing exercises that allow you to center your mind. So even when your brain is stressed, even when stress is there in your life, your brain will not react to the stress. And if your brain is not reactive to the stress, it will be better at focusing. So you have to train your brain, and that is what we do at my center also. We allow the brain to have a stronger prefrontal cortex so that when the amygdala, under a stressful situation, your amygdala lights up and it tells your prefrontal cortex to shut up, not make any rational decisions, get stressed out and freak out. And with brain training, we make the prefrontal cortex stronger so that in a stressful situation, when the amygdala is telling the prefrontal cortex to shut up, prefrontal cortex is like, no, I'm not going to shut up. I'm still going to be calm. I'm going to be rational. And the stronger you make your prefrontal cortex, the better you will get at dealing with stress. And the better you will get at dealing with stress, the better you will get at focusing.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, actually. Well, I'm going to end this with the one comment, actually, I could not pass it by, and it said, thank you, thank you very much, Dr. Obasna, for this amazing workshop. Really, it was useful, and my family attended with me. Great work and great exercises. Thank you for organizing this amazing webinar. So, thank you so much, Dr. Obasna, and this was
thank you for being a great audience, and don't forget to practice the things that I've told you, because if you don't, then this workshop has been totally pointless. So take it in your life, practice the exercises I told you about, remember to practice boredom, remember to be playful, and never stop learning.
Thank you so much, Dr. Obasna. Thank you for today's event. You have made it really clear that every individual is made with immense potential. These potentials should be unlocked to enhance them, to help individuals achieve greater goals in life. Again, I would like to thank you all for joining today's sessions. Dear students and audience, you will find a survey link asking for feedback on this event at the chat icon. Your insights will actually help us to shape future events such as this. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Obasna, once more. Thank you.
Talia, would you be able to share the feedback with me as well, if that's okay?
Absolutely. I'll be glad to. I will do that positively. Thank you very much, Dr. Obasna. Thank you, everyone, and I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.